Hello, everyone, and welcome. Today we are diving deep into one of the most dynamic and, I'd argue, future-proof disciplines out there, computer engineering. It sits at this really cool intersection of hardware and software, literally building the foundation of our digital world. So whether you're a student figuring things out, a professional thinking about a change, or maybe you're just curious about where the world is headed, this is your roadmap for the next decade.
So here's what we've got lined up. First, we'll talk about why we're in a golden age for this field. Then, we'll look at the specific paths you can choose from. After that, we'll lay out a strategic roadmap, talk about the skills you need that go beyond the code, get a quick dose of reality, and finally, figure out your next move. Ready? Let's jump in.
All right, first things first, the golden age. We're living in a pretty wild time, right? AI, robotics, automation, it's all reshaping our world. And for a lot of fields, that might feel a little scary. But for computer engineers, this isn't a threat. It's genuinely the single greatest opportunity in a generation.
I mean, just let that sink in for a second. This quote really nails it. The question you should be asking yourself isn't, will I be able to find a job? It's which high-impact, world-changing path am I going to choose? And look, this isn't just hype. It's all being driven by these massive global trends, like the explosion of AI and the digital transformation of, well, everything.
Let's look at some numbers, because they really tell the story. Even for core software development roles, we're looking at a projected growth of 25% over the next decade. That's huge. It shows this incredible sustained demand. So what does that mean for you? It means job security, a really, really solid foundation to build a career on.
But this is where it gets really exciting. If you decide to specialize in AI and machine learning, that growth number jumps to a staggering 40%. I mean, that's just mind-blowing. And it's happening because AI isn't just a niche thing anymore, it's fundamentally changing how every single industry operates. This right here is a giant blinking sign pointing to where the future is. And of course, that kind of demand translates directly into your paycheck. We're talking about entry-level total compensation here, so base salary plus bonuses and stock, somewhere between $180,000 and $320,000 for a software engineer. But for those AI and machine learning specialists, that starting range leaps up to between $220,000 and $450,000. Yeah, right out of school.
Okay, so with that incredible potential laid out, the question becomes, how do you specialize? Where do you focus your energy? Let's dive into the 5 dominant career paths that are really going to define the industry for the next 10 years. This is where you find your fit.
All right, these are the big 5 you're going to be hearing about constantly. AI and machine learning, of course, cybersecurity, cloud infrastructure, embedded systems and the Internet of Things, and the really forward-looking one, quantum computing.
So path number 1 is what some people are calling the golden ticket, AI and machine learning. And this goes way beyond just writing code. We're talking about building the massive foundation models that can understand images, text, and sound, or developing autonomous agents that can actually reason and perform tasks. If you've got a knack for Python and the math behind it all, this is where the action is.
Next up, we have a field that has basically become recession-proof, cybersecurity. Think about it. As everything in our lives moves online, security stops being a nice-to-have and becomes an absolute strategic necessity for every single company. If you're the kind of person who likes thinking like a detective and staying one step ahead, mastering things like cryptography and threat modeling can lead to an incredibly stable and important career.
Now this next path, this is where you find the silent millionaires, cloud-native infrastructure. These are the brilliant engineers who build and scale the massive, powerful systems that the entire AI revolution is built on top of. You might not always see their names in the headlines, but they are the ones making it all possible. It's an incredibly valuable and foundational role in all of modern tech. Okay, path 4 is for anyone who loves seeing their code actually interact with the physical world. Embedded systems and IoT is all about that beautiful marriage of hardware and software. We're talking about everything from the tiny chips in your smart thermostat to the complex brains inside an autonomous car. The need for low-level programming in languages like C and C++ is absolutely ironclad here.
And finally, we get to the big one, the long-term moonshot, quantum computing. Now, this is still in its very early days, so it's a bit of a high-risk, high-reward bet. But it represents the next true frontier of what computers can do, with the potential to solve problems we can't even dream of tackling today. This path is for the true pioneers who want to build the revolutionary computers of tomorrow.
So you've seen the paths, but just knowing about them isn't enough, right? Success requires a real strategy. So this next section is your step-by-step guide to get you from the classroom all the way to becoming an expert in whatever field you choose.
It's helpful to think about your career in stages. In the beginning, it's all about building that solid foundation. Then you start to specialize and get some real-world experience under your belt. After you graduate, you'll work on mastering your craft. Then move into leadership, and eventually you'll be the one in those senior roles making the big strategic decisions.
Now, that first stage is honestly the most important. If you get this right, everything else gets easier. During your university years, you have to master the fundamentals, things like data structures and algorithms. But here's the key. Focus on how to solve problems, not just how to use the latest tool. And then build stuff. Get your hands dirty. Those projects and, crucially, those internships are what will make you stand out from everyone else.
But here's a secret that a lot of people miss early on. Technical skills are just one piece of the puzzle. They'll get you in the door, for sure. But to have a truly successful long-term career, you need to develop the skills that go way beyond the code.
I mean, really think about this for a second. In a world where an AI can write pretty decent code in the blink of an eye, what makes a human engineer so valuable? The answer isn't just about being a slightly better coder. It's about developing those durable, uniquely human skills that AI just can't replicate. These are the skills that turn great engineers into great leaders. Things like being able to clearly communicate a complex idea, or breaking down a massive problem into smaller pieces, and having the business sense to know you're building something people actually want. In an AI world, the engineer who can lead a team and explain their vision, that person has a superpower.
Okay, we've talked about all the amazing opportunities, but I wouldn't be giving you the full, honest picture if we didn't talk about the challenges. This is a high-pressure, incredibly fast-paced field. So let's get real for a minute, because understanding the challenges is key to building a career that lasts.
This career is absolutely a double-edged sword. On one side, you have this incredible potential for impact, for high earnings, and for opportunities all over the world. But the flip side of that coin is that you have to be learning constantly or your skills will get outdated. It comes with high pressure, a real risk of burnout, and you're competing with talent from all over the globe. Knowing both sides is so important. And this brings us to what I think is the single biggest reality check for the next decade. The threat isn't that AI is going to take your job. The real threat is falling behind someone else who learns how to use AI to become 10 times more productive and creative. The key is to see AI not as a competitor, but as the most powerful tool you've ever been given.
So, we've covered the incredible opportunities, and we've been honest about the real-world challenges. Now it's time to bring it all home and talk about your next move. What do you do starting today?
Here's the bottom line. The future of computer engineering belongs to people who are adaptable, curious, and disciplined. It's about building that strong foundation, choosing a path, and going deep, and never, ever stopping learning. The roadmap is clear. The opportunities are absolutely vast, so the only real question left is, what's your next move?